When I sat down to record this course, I wanted to make sure that I covered a couple specific topics that are kind of important to higher tier, more advanced streaming that I think would be a great opportunity to kind of point people in that direction. Those topics were RTMP, which is a streaming protocol we'll talk about in a minute, and NDI. I have a dedicated segment of the course separate from this talking about NDI that'll come a little bit later, but in this kind of weird, different segment of the course, I really wanted to cover RTMP and how that works. So for this, we kind of have a little fireside chat Q&A session with a fellow by the name of Psynaps, who does streaming on YouTube. He has a YouTube channel, and he does the most I've ever seen on YouTube or on Twitch with RTMP servers and customizing them for some truly crazy advanced streaming setups. And I thought he would be the best possible resource to talk about this, and he comes with a lot of information jam-packed in here, and this was a great session. I had a blast talking to him. He had a lot of great information, converted me myself. I'm actually going to be setting up my own RTMP server on my Cinnabar server and running that soon, and there's a lot of good info here, but it's in a little bit of a different format, so just wanted to preface this. RTMP stands for Real-Time Messaging Protocol, was developed for Macromedia Flash for delivering audio and video over the internet, but is now primarily used for most content delivery networks, or CDNs, for live streaming just about anything. It's kind of one of the main protocols, but you can utilize it to your advantage, even within your home network, to do a lot more with live streaming than a traditional capture card or even just a single PC stream would allow. And we talk about some of these possibilities here. They're behind us. Who? They have an Orisa. Orisa? Where? Don't go around the corner. Huh? Don't. I just see a rock. Oh. Cool. Dude, will you just get a mod mic already? It attaches to any headphone so you can use that good pair that you like, but I'll actually be able to understand your callouts. It also has a mute switch so that I don't hear all those darn conversations with your grandma. We gotta get serious if we're gonna get out of Plaid. Yeah, just order one tonight. Head on over to antlineaudio.com to learn more and check it out.
Well, basically, I think most people don't know what an RTMP server is, or what it does, or how you can use it. And basically, the RTMP server is very similar to Twitch's ingest servers. You can stream to it, and you can create your own key and stream to your own personal RTMP server, whether it's in your LAN or up on a server on the cloud. And you can basically stream as many sources as you want to it. And one of the use case scenarios that people are doing is they will stream from their main gaming PC to their RTMP server at home, and they'll make use of a dual PC stream system. Dual PC systems are really popular right now on Twitch for streaming because it allows you to take a load off of your gaming PC, take a load of CPU usage off your gaming PC so you can maximize your FPS in game. And what you do is you have a second computer take over the CPU load so that it can really encode the video and really just focus on just encoding the video for Twitch. And so it does it better than it would if you were doing it on your main gaming PC. So that's the number one use case scenario. An RTMP server comes into this mix where you're streaming to the RTMP server and either having the RTMP server encode your video for Twitch, or you can use a second OBS and pull the stream from the RTMP server into OBS and stream that onto Twitch. So it gets complicated really fast, but that's actually the beauty of the RTMP servers. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. Now, that's the most common use case for it, but there's something else that we can do that a lot of streamers are interested in, and that is having a gaming house, right? We all want a gaming house. We've done LAN parties. We've gotten together with friends. What if we can stream multiple perspectives at the same time, or multiple sources, whatever it is, whether it's two people gaming or multiple webcams or game sources, whatever. You imagine the possibilities, and you can stream all of those sources to an RTMP server and then pull them into OBS however you want. You can create one scene that is gamer A, another scene that's gamer B, you can switch between them, or you can put both gamers on the same screen and play them both at the same time with a cool overlay or something like that. So that's the gaming house scenario. And the RTMP server will handle that just flawlessly. Let me make a quick note about the RTMP server. You might be thinking, whoa, this must take a lot of processing power to do this. This must be crazy. It's actually not the case. Just the RTMP server by itself, it's basically just kind of forwarding packets and kind of, packaging the packets in a way. It's much like a switch. So it turns out it doesn't use very much resources at all, or even memory. It uses almost none to do all of these sources. However, if you're encoding on the SuperStream system, then of course it's encoding video, then it can use a lot of CPU. The other use case scenario that's getting really popular right now is IRL streaming. And people are coming to me and asking me, how do I stream from my mobile device? You know, your phone or laptop, whatever your mobile device is, tablet, how to stream from that to your OBS. And the reason they want to do that is because OBS is a powerhouse of overlays and transitions. For example, Dr. Disrespect, whenever he's changing scenes while he's playing PUBG or whatever he's doing, you know, he'll have this cool animation that swings in while he's changing scenes. OBS does that. That's what it's really, really good at. So when you're mobile streaming, you're out running around, why not just stream from your phone to your OBS and use OBS's overlays? It's got your subscriber notifications, you know, your top bits donate or whatever. You choose how you want your overlays to be. And you can do that using an RTMP server. Basically, you stream from your phone up to your RTMP server, whether it's at home or up on the cloud. The cloud version is the most popular for me right now. People have me set up their cloud RTMP servers. I can do that for you really, really quickly. And then you pull from OBS, you pull from your RTMP server, and you pull the mobile stream into your OBS, and you stream it like that. I do it all the time on my stream. If I want to go get a haircut or I want to go to the store to get some, whiskey or whatever it is I'm doing, I take the stream with me. All right, I'm like, let's go, guys. And I get my mobile rig set up, switch it over my mobile feed to OBS, and then we just walk out the door. When I come back, the stream never stopped. It stayed streaming the entire time without interruption. And any questions about that so far?
That's actually something I was wanting to look into, was doing it from mobile. And
Yeah.
so
That's getting really, really popular right now. IRL is blowing up on Twitch, and I think it's a great opportunity. It's something that we've been able to do for a long time. I've been IRL streaming on Twitch since before there was IRL. How did I
Right.
do it? It was very tricky, but we did it, and a couple of us were doing it. You know, there were a couple of guys that were figured out how to do it. Some people, I saw people streaming using Google Glass.
Right.
They were using third-party live streaming things like I think livestream.com or something. There were ways to do it. It was very difficult. It was not easy. But sooner or later, we figured out I could use an RTMP server, and our phones are getting better. These are turning into pretty good video encoders. This is a Galaxy S4, but my main rig is a Galaxy S7. Both can encode video quite well. There's live streaming apps that can stream to RTMP. If you notice, Bitstream for Android, and I think for iOS, what do we use? Having a blank because I don't use iOS, but it's I'll think of it. I'll make sure I get you guys some links. There's a few of them actually, and so you stream to the RTMP server, your custom RTMP server, and now that you're streaming to your own server, you can do whatever you want with that feed. You can pull it in.
Right.
A friend could pull it in. You could pull it into OBS. You could pull it into VLC Player. You can, use your creativity to figure out, where you want that feed to go and how you want it to integrate into your streaming system. And here's an issue, though. Let's say that you're out in the wild and you're streaming out there. Okay, let's say that I went to Japan and I'm streaming at home in the US. Of course, that's an odd scenario, but just bear with me. how do I control the OBS? How do I control OBS remotely? Well, it turns out there's already tools out there to control OBS remotely, and there's a really cool WebSockets plugin that you can get for OBS, and you know, you can remote into your OBS. You can even, I'm developing an app right now that I have that I'm beta testing with users, where you can control OBS through chat, through Twitch chat.
Huh.
You know, you type in IRL on, and it'll, you know, start streaming for you. Or switch to your IRL. You can go to IRL off. It'll turn off your OBS, or you know, go to a BRB screen or something like that. And it's really simple using WebSockets and it's secure because Twitch chat, it'll only respond to your name in Twitch chat. Nobody can log in with your name to Twitch unless they have your password, right? So just using that premise, you know, I've made this app that can control OBS for you.
And here I was thinking, like when you asked, like, how would you control it? I was just like, well, remote desktop on a mobile device might kind of suck. I mean, you can, but
you have lots of options to do it. It's not off the table to go into remote desktop. If something strange happened and you are using remote desktop, then that's great because now you have more control.
Right.
But I was thinking about making it easier for you because, you know, people that are coming to RTMP maybe for the first time, it seems like it's really hard to do. And it turns out that it is a little bit hard, but I'm trying to make it easier for people. That's where I come in. You know, all of the Linux experts out there and you techies, you know, you might be thinking, oh, RTMP server, that's easy. You just install it on Linux. Linux, you know, that Linux will just do it, install it for you. And you can go into the configuration files and configure it how you like. Well, all of that is true. And Nginx is free. RTMP is an open source technology. It is true. Anybody can go out there and do it. I want to put that out there, make sure people realize that. But the problem is that people are having an issue getting it configured just right, hardening it. That's something I've been doing over many years, streaming on my stream, is you know, trying to do crazy tricks with it and stuff, and finding out what works and what doesn't work, and basically creating a configuration file and essentially an entire system that is optimized and ready to hit the ground running and ready to be fed into a production environment. And that's basically what I've created. It takes a little bit of time, I gotta say. It's a little learning curve, but we've got you covered.
So I wanted to loop back to for a like basic 2 PC streaming setup. When you're streaming, when you're streaming from your gaming rig to your RTMP server or to the second PC, how significant is that impact? Like how is that optimized differently than sending it straight to OBS, other than obviously you're compressing it less and that takes more, you know, CPU power, but is that purely it, or is it somehow still smoother sailing than just normal sending over the X264 signal up to Twitch?
So you're able to, here's the main advantage of this. So the question is, you know, why not just send it up, you know, because your gaming machine is also a very strong video encoding machine. So you could just send it up straight to Twitch and that'll work. You don't need 2 PCs to be successful on Twitch. But here's how you can make them work for you. The first thing is the NVEC encoder that's built into OBS. If you have an NVEC, an NVIDIA graphics card, the NVIDIA graphics card has a piece of hardware built into it that's dedicated to video editing, okay, or video encoding, and that's your NVEC chip. Many people didn't know that the NVEC encoder, it's not actually using your GPU, it's using the NVEC chip. So they're 2 different pipes. I think they converge at some point, but they're 2 different bandwidth pipes. And you can use your GPU to do all of the encoding instead of using, you can use NVEC to do the encoding instead of your CPU. And what that does is it significantly reduces the amount of CPU that you use on your computer, on your gaming machine. Try it. And look at the CPU usage when you're encoding with X264, then switch it over to NVEC, and you'll see the CPU goes down. And now you're using your graphics card. Now, that being said, why not just use NVEC to stream out to Twitch? Well, it turns out NVEC works the best at really high bit rates. Bit rates that are higher than Twitch recommends. Okay, we're talking about recording level bit rates. NVEC is getting better and more optimized, but the truth is NVEC works better at higher bit rates. So this is where the dual PC system comes in. What you do is you use NVEC if you've got it, and you don't have to use NVEC. You can use X264 as well. But if you've got that,
AMD
NVEC,
has their own chip
AMD
too
has
now.
one too. I'm using NVIDIA here a little bit too much, but AMD has one as well. I'm a little bit biased.
It's harder to use, but it does the same thing.
Yeah. And you basically what you do is you use NVEC at a high bit rate, and you stream that really high bit rate to the second PC. And then the second PC is going to take in that high bit rate. It's going to be an excellent quality video. Think about recording quality capture. All right. And basically, you're going to max out the audio settings. You're going to use high video, not super high, because you don't need to. There's actually a threshold where you have diminishing returns on quality. There's a certain kind of sweet spot of bitrate we figured out for 1080, 60 FPS using NVEC. You use that bitrate and you stream that one. But here's something else that you can do. At the same time you're streaming that high quality video to the second PC, you can also record onto your disk that high quality feed. You see what I mean? So if you set your OBS to just stream out to Twitch at 6,000 kbps, which is the highest recommended bitrate, and you record to disk, you're also recording to disk at 6,000, which is probably not the most optimal recording you can do. You can do much, much better than that. So you start with high resolution, high bitrate, high frame rate, NVEC, and you're recording to disk optionally. You stream out to the second PC, and then the second PC is going to take that video and crunch it down for Twitch. And by crunching down, all I mean is that you're encoding it at Twitch's recommended bitrate, which is 6,000. You can go lower than that. Let's say that you're streaming at 720p 60. You don't need to go to 6,000. You can actually do really well at 5,000. Around there. You know, you got to decide what's good for your stream. Even lower, actually, if you want. And you can also, there's something you can do. Here's the thing that is really, I think, the beauty of a dual PC system is X264 has presets. You've seen them in OBS, like very high, super high, and then you can go slower, which is faster, medium, slow, and so on. So these presets they take up more CPU the slower you go, but they make the video quality look even better for that bit rate. So if you have a really fast second PC, you can bring the preset down to medium, for example. Some people can even go to slow if you have a really fast computer, and you're increasing the quality of your feed and by encoding slow. You would definitely not want to encode slower on your gaming machine. Your CPU would be using so much CPU, even on your nice i9 or i7. You'd be, using up the bulk of the power of your PC just to encode the video for Twitch. And we don't do that when we stream. When you have a dual PC system, you can do that. And that opens up a lot of doors for quality.
Yeah, and that's actually, that answered a question that I kind of get a lot from people who live stream but also want to do Let's Plays. And while I disagree somewhat with the idea of turning like a live broadcasted video into pretending it's a video series to upload without the live elements, like on a philosophical level, if you want to do that, you can do that a lot easier by streaming with a second PC that adds all your overlays and then recording locally. You get the full quality copy, still have your audio.
There you go. Yes, absolutely. I did do that on my stream at one point, and this is going to be great for the YouTubers, just like you said. You know, on your main PC, you're recording with a certain sound sources, certain overlays. One of the things that we do on Twitch is we have the subscriber overlays and those events that happen. It might be a donation, it might be a bit, or many streamers will have on the corner your top donator, your top viewer, and stuff like that. These are really fun to interact with the chat, and people like to see their name pop up on the screen whenever they do something special. And for lots of reasons, we have all of that. We'll call it junk that's going on. Well, we won't call it junk. We'll call it Twitch-specific stuff. when you make a
Right.
video for YouTube, you might not want all that stuff on there because your YouTube community doesn't know who these Twitch people are, or they, it's disruptive, and it just makes it look like it's a Twitch VOD. Maybe it should be on Twitch and not on YouTube. So what you could do on the first PC is just record a clean monitor capture with your webcam and whatever else, and then just let the second PC do all of the Twitch specific stuff. And yeah, there you go, man. Totally works.
And if you've ever watched someone multicast in which you're watching on YouTube and they're talking to people in Twitch chat and you can't understand who they're talking to because you don't see anyone in chat, that's kind of the same idea of watching a
Right?
video and seeing alerts popping up and you're like, why? What?
Yeah, it is awkward. Yeah, I agree.
Like, I understand some reasons why people multicast, but it drives me nuts anytime I watch it, like on either platform, and I'm just like, who are you talking to? Yeah, one main follow-up question. And you don't have to go into specifics, but what is the craziest thing you have done on your stream, or at least help someone else set up with RTMP? Like, just the most out there, no one else has potentially copied it. Just anything too crazy?
Yeah, I can think of one thing that was quite a scheme that we set up with the RTMP server. And there's a couple of things that I've done that's very non-standard. But one of the coolest things that I did, this was early on. This was probably 2 years ago, I think, at least. We did an esports event on Twitch in the World of Warcraft community for a RBG tournament, which is Rated Battlegrounds. And one of the things that's never happened with Rated Battlegrounds is US versus EU. So there was some organizers that, because here's a funny thing, just a side note. If you talk to the US guys, they say they're better than EU. If you talk to the EU guys, they say they're way better than US. A thing in World of Warcraft when it comes to PvP is the EU guys always say PvP is harder in EU. The US guys, they if they want to see real PvP, they'll come to the EU servers, right? On the US side, they say the same thing. So there's this rivalry, right? And so we wanted to put an end to this rivalry. The organizers did, and so they organized our RBG tournament between US and EU. And they came to me to ask for streaming advice, and I said, you know what? What if we take the broadcasters, the shoutcasters, and maybe we take some video feeds from some of the competitors or the spectators, because in World of Warcraft you can spectate the BGs. You can kind of fly around and watch the tournament. And we actually pulled in one of the developers for the plugin that World of Warcraft uses for spectating, and he kind of helped us optimize and customize a spectating plugin for World of Warcraft. He's the same guy that does the plugin for professional World of Warcraft esports now, currently, for BlizzCon and stuff like that.
Huh.
So, and he kind of got that started, and we worked with him. And so what we did was we got Skype, we got video feeds coming in through Skype, we got video feeds coming in through the spectators. They're streaming it up to the RTMP server up on the cloud, and then I'm pulling it in. I was actually the one that was actually streaming. I wasn't on camera or anything else. I was like the behind the scenes guy this time. And,
Right.
I had OBS, I had it all optimized, brought in the feeds, I was doing the scene transitions and the overlays. I set up all the overlays and stuff on OBS, and it worked great. Nobody at that time had ever done something like that. Now, maybe people have done it with RTMP, but we hadn't seen that in esports. At least I hadn't. And
Right.
Esports in World of Warcraft was just getting started. Okay, they were just talking about it. It wasn't a big deal quite yet. But Blizzard did integrate the spectator ability into World of Warcraft just shortly before that. And so they intended to do more esports. So that was kind of a wild thing. We didn't know if it was going to work. We tested it. It was not very well vetted at the time, but we knew we were using strong technology. The RTMP tech is solid, right? And the servers are solid. The data centers have lots of bandwidth. That's solid. We just needed some good luck, make sure there was no internet problems, no connection problems, make sure all the players had good internet, and it went off without a hitch, essentially. And there were some little things that we were able to fix on the fly. But what's another crazy thing that we've done with RTMP. Nothing too crazy, really just standard, really just using it how it's meant to be used. You know, the IRL stuff is kind of, you know, it's really not that crazy, but I think that's the craziest thing I do on a day-to-day basis with it.
Right. Even with the WoW stuff, like, I'm just thinking as a hardware guy, like, how the actual, you know, in-person tournaments go, that's thousands, like, tens of thousands of dollars of, you know, Blackmagic HDMI converters and hardware
Yes.
switchers for the video signals and all that stuff. Thousands and thousands of dollars of hardware that
Okay.
you sort of don't need when you're, if as long as you have the bandwidth when you're doing RTMP.
You are absolutely right. Let's take a step back on that because that's one of the major things that probably should have mentioned much, much sooner is how would you put together a video event like this with multiple sources, you know, the traditional way? It's going to cost a bunch of money, right? You're going to need
Right.
like the splitters, the cards, the hardware devices. And I think that studios spend a tremendous amount of money on this stuff. And it's very reliable and stuff. But look, we can do it as streamers with OBS, some free software. The most you might spend is on the Super Stream system that's already pre-configured, right? But it's very
Right.
inexpensive. It doesn't cost any more than a video game, and now anybody can do this. And you don't even need that. You can go out if you want to learn it yourself. You can go out and do it yourself. You might have to invest the time and the optimization, but the point is you don't have to buy all of that hardware and you can do a big production. Now, what if you're just an individual? You're not a big studio and you don't want to do esports. You're not interested in doing a gaming house. So what about just you as an individual with a dual PC system or even a single PC system? You know, could you still save money that way? And the answer is yes, because even with a dual PC system, typically to build one, the traditional way to stream with a 2 PC system is to buy a capture card. And now we're streaming at pretty high bit rates. We have really nice monitors. You'd probably buy the more expensive capture card, even if you bought the cheaper one. You're paying over $100, maybe even a couple $100 for a nice capture card. That's hardware that you have to buy before you can do a 2 PC system. With RTMP, you get to go around that hardware and you can do all of the extra stuff. You can do the mobile stream. You can do multi-sources. You can do different types of transcoding if you want. You don't have to be limited to what the capture card provides. It's going to provide something that's going to be its stats, and you're not going to go beyond that. With RTMP, you can stream whatever bit rate you want until your Ethernet blows up, or your computer or something,
And a big thing that's been super relevant recently is no screen tearing when you do it this way, or at least minimal.
Oh, yes,
With
that's
capture
a major
cards,
complaint.
even
Yeah.
at 60 hertz, you get screen tearing and it just looks bad, especially when you throw compression on top of it. It just,
Oh man, it's really interesting you mentioned that because people will come to me pretty regularly and ask me advice about capture cards and about HDMI splitters and stuff. And normally I'm able to help people troubleshoot and give them advice to help them fix their stuff. And I am like a deer in headlights when it comes to the HDMI stuff because I never have to deal with that stuff. I use RTMP
Right.
this whole time. I no longer have to troubleshoot that kind of stuff. So the problems people have are like, I see there's a problem, but I have the solution. Pretty much the RTMP server. But no, you are right. And they figure out, there are ways to figure out the screen tearing and stuff like that. There's solutions, but you know what? It costs money. You might have to upgrade your splitter. You might have to upgrade your XYZ and to get the frame rate that you're trying to do. And one of the biggest problems is people that have nice monitors. All right. There are a ton of gamers that have 144 hertz monitors or more. And they're trying to do capture cards and HDMI stuff with these really high refresh rates, and they're running into all kinds of trouble, and it's something to consider.
Yeah, that stuff. Not just the capture cards, but even trying to like clone out high refresh signals to lower refresh capture cards. Like Windows itself doesn't like it. Like it's just nothing but a can of worms. And so I've been lately trying to since I haven't had the resource myself to like say, hey, go watch this or something, I haven't had a whole lot to point people to. But I've been nonstop just being like, software is your solution.
Yeah.
Stop buying capture cards. I know someone who has bought almost every capture card I've ever heard of that does like standard 1080p signals,
Yeah.
trying to like fix this issue or that issue. And I'm like, more power to you, but you're not gonna find it. And they keep asking
Yeah.
my opinion. I'm like, no, it's not gonna fix it. I'll just try it anyway. It's like
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of money that's being invested in capture card hardware, and I think that it still has its use. I'm not going to tell
Oh yeah.
people that you shouldn't use a capture card. I mean, sometimes I think it sounds like I'm saying that, and I think sometimes I have actually said that, but I don't mean to say that. I think there's lots of uses for the hardware. The hardware is good. I think to have it, you're going to find a use for it. But just think about the design of your stream. What is it you're trying to do? If you're just trying to stream your OBS on your gaming machine, if you're trying to stream your gameplay, maybe you're a creative streamer or even an IRL streamer, like I mentioned, and you're trying to stream that to a second PC because you want to increase the quality of your stream, or you want to do other stuff, like you're also a YouTuber and you want to split the way you're capturing things, split it, capture it on one PC one way and stream it onto Twitch on the second PC another way. All these things you can do. The RTMP server solves those issues. All right. When it comes to frame rate, guess what frame rate I use when I'm streaming from my gaming PC to my second encoding PC? I actually use 120 FPS, which is double what I stream out to Twitch at 60 FPS. Why do I do that? Well, it's actually just an experiment, to see how well NVEC can keep up with that. Now, the only time I go above 60 FPS is usually when I'm capturing for slow-mo. Maybe I'm capturing a game and I want to slow it down later in post, and I just want to get some extra frames. I do it for various reasons. This time I was doing it just to kind of stress test the system to see if I could, just shove twice the amount of frames into the system. And it's been working. So, hey, maybe you want to take advantage of your high refresh monitor and you want to do something at 120 for whatever reason. I'm not going to challenge you. There's, people come up with creative reasons all the time. I'm not going to say that you're wasting frames. You might have a good use for it. You might want to do slow motion. You might want to do whatever. So you can do that. You can choose whatever FPS you want. You can choose, 30, 60, go up to 120 if you want. Try 140. I think some people on the forum said they could go up to 240 with NVEC, maybe even more. So NVEC is your friend. It's not perfect. NVEC is, some people will challenge NVEC and say, it doesn't capture all the frames sometimes under some conditions. It's certainly not perfect, but it's very convenient for the purpose of capturing video for streaming or for YouTube.
And you know what? I've had some issues with trying to stream games recently in terms of performance, which has just baffled me because I have a 6900K and a GTX 1080. I have as high of end hardware, in my opinion, as you should need anything. And I've even talked to the people at OBS on the forums and so on. And I'm just like, why is this happening? And they don't really know, other than it can't keep up. I have a dual Xeon server sitting in my server rack running Plex, which doesn't need 18 threads or whatever I have on it. I may ping some questions past you, but I am going to set this up myself and stop having these issues.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear it.
You've converted me. I actually didn't even think about that when I was setting all this up, or didn't even consider it. But the more I look at it, the more it's like, why in the world am I not doing this? Especially since I already have the hardware sitting there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. I think once you go to an RTMP server, you never go back. You'll find ways to use it. And if you love streaming, I love streaming, and I'm a techie. I'm a tech geek. I'll just say it. I nerd out all the time on this kind of stuff. I do stuff that I don't even need to do because I think it's cool. That's a sign that you might be a little bit of a nerd. So I love doing this, and it's a lot of fun. But I love streaming, and I feel like as a streamer, and I think this applies to you. You might not be a nerd. Okay, I'm just going to talk to you guys for a second. I'm going to call myself a nerd, and I realize I'm biased, but maybe you're not a nerd. Maybe you just want to increase the quality of your stream. Maybe you just want an edge out there on Twitch, because it's tough. There's a lot of streamers. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of streamers. There's thousands of partners out there, and tens of thousands of streamers at any given time. There's millions of viewers on Twitch that are watching. So it's getting bigger and bigger, and it's very competitive, and there's a lot of people that are very motivated, very focused, and they're ready to get their stream going and stream out to the world their amazing content. And maybe you want an edge. And so you might be able to find a creative way to use an RTMP server to bring your sources together, to take your viewers with you wherever you go, or to stream a gameplay at a higher quality than the other guy who's also wants to be a streamer, or the other partners that are already streamers or affiliates. And you want an edge. So you can think about it that way too, because when I'm done tinkering and stuff like that and I'm ready to go live, I'm always thinking about what can I do that nobody has done before? How can I make this stream a better experience for my viewers and my subscribers that outperforms my fellow streamers out there on Twitch? And I think that it all comes down to the way you arrange your transitions. The RTMP server, I'm able to do things that other people just don't know how to do because they don't have an RTMP server. And I just do that every day on my stream. So some food for thought.
And there are a couple specific feature requests that I've mentioned throughout the OBS course that I'm fairly certain are actually possible if you set up an RTMP server. So that's another reason I'm excited to get it set up. So I've mentioned them throughout, and most of those things are addressed just by running your own server instead of doing it kind of blind while gaming at the same time.
Yeah. Cool.
All right.
I'm really excited about this series that you're doing. I can't wait to check it out.
And as a follow-up series, assuming I keep going, I will probably document my progress setting up the RTMP stuff. Obviously, it won't be in this course because that's not going to work, but I will probably have a little mini-series as I set things up and evolve my setup, because it'll probably just start basic stream, and then I'll move it to setting up some complex systems, and I'm excited to share that. So very much looking forward to it. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Absolutely.
And I will have links to all of Psynaps' stuff in the video description and the show doc, but is there anything specific you would like put out there that viewers can go check you out or get help or what have you?
Yeah,
that need highlighted?
On my stream, we talk a lot about tech issues. There's a lot of people with a tremendous amount of computer knowledge. There's people that come watch the stream that work in IT, many guys. There's a lot of computer builders out there, and there's just a lot of tech enthusiasts. And we come together on the stream and we talk about all kinds of things. If I'm not playing games or I'm not doing some creative streaming, we're just having a conversation about computer builds or new tech and stuff. So I invite everybody to come check it out and be part of those discussions. If you have questions about OBS, and of course, you can get that information from your YouTube and stuff. But if you want to talk live and just have a conversation, come check out the stream. I do a lot of computer builds. Anytime we're doing computer builds or hardware and stuff, I stream the entire thing. If you have questions about RTMP or servers OBS, it's just part of the normal conversation that we have. And I like to give tips and stuff. And one thing I was mentioning earlier is that on Twitch, it's a live conversation. So we kind of have community knowledge. We bring all of our knowledge together. You've got guys that are in IT for many years, people that are building crazy computer builds, way bigger builds than I've ever done. And we're getting their opinions and just shooting information back and forth. I think that I've always called my stream an educational stream. I don't know if we're getting smarter or dumber sometimes with some of the things that we do on the stream, but I like to think that when you come to my stream, you leave a little more informed, at least, than when you got there.
That's a good way to put it. Huh. I also wanted to ask Psynaps about how he felt between NDI and RTMP, and he had some interesting thoughts to share. I don't think my side of that conversation recorded, so I'm just throwing this in here and cutting to him. But he had some really solid information to share.
I think it is. And when it comes to the NDI stuff, NDI is just an example of it's another option that we can use to increase the quality of our feed. And it's gotten better. It used to be really bad in OBS, but it's actually gotten better. I don't think that it replaces RTMP. I don't think it replaces the Nginx server, RTMP server. at all, actually. I think it does if all you're doing is streaming from point A to point B.
Right.
Then I think it's an option. You might want to just do that and just not have to mess with the RTMP server. If it's working well in your system, if it's not taking up too much resources. I noticed for me that it was using a lot more CPU than NVEC was using,
Right.
or even X264. I mean, it was just like, it was very resource heavy. It was using a tremendous amount of bandwidth. I mean, it seemed kind of ridiculous how much bandwidth it was using at 1080, 60 FPS. And I was like, whoa. I was like, this is a really great idea, but it's also, it seems like it's, stressing out the system a little bit, a lot more than the RTMP was.
And that's the weird thing. I think the extension just kind of, or the plugin just kind of needs more options, because even NewTek's own little encoding boxes for NDI, they're hard limited to like 15 megabits per second. Like, you can't get a whole lot of bitrate out of it. I mean, it's nice for what it is, and for most people it's fine, but it's kind of weird to see reviews of that and see that it's like hard limited on a tiny bitrate. And then I run NDI on my OBS, and it's like 250 megabits per second. It's just like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's another thing, actually. That's a good point, is, how flexible, how configurable the system is. And when because NVEC and X264 is so well accepted, it's so ubiquitous in our hardware, our CPU can encode it, our graphics card can encode it, our phones can encode and decode, right? They have built-in hardware decoders and encoders. So first of all, it's ubiquitous. It's very configurable,
right,
which means we can control the bit rates. All right, I can think a lot about how I want to stream, and I can design a stream system and implement that into OBS and into the RTMP system. If I need to make changes on the OBS side, on the client side, I can. I can also do the changes on the RTMP side. I can transcode it there. I can do it, down the pipeline, anywhere in the pipeline, and make these changes on the fly. So I don't think, and for that reason, whenever people say, NDI isn't that, going to be a replacement for the Super Stream system, I'm like, not even close. Yeah. I mean, even if you were just streaming from point A to point B, if you're like me, I like buttons and dials and knobs. I like to configure. I like to tweak things.
Right.
And, if it's just a one bit rate, one resolution kind of thing, I can't do that.
You can't
and that's one of the reasons that I don't like. Yeah, that's exactly the reason that I don't prefer capture cards for streaming PC content as well. I think capture cards are for your cameras or your consoles. But of course, I'm biased because I do so much of the RTMP stuff. I'll admit that straight away. But the capture card, usually it's, it's got a standard input and output, and it's not nearly as configurable as your X264 or your Super Stream system would be.
Right. That was a lot of information, a lot of talking. I tried to cut down where I could, just because we had like a 2-hour-long source conversation, although I didn't, my first 30 minutes didn't record for some reason, but he had so much good information to offer. I am super grateful that he was able to come on and us chat about this. And I hope you enjoyed this kind of extended look in the segment of the course, because this is something that I'm not an expert on, and I didn't feel I could adequately just do some, half job research and throw some information out at you without having done it myself. And he's someone who tinkers with it constantly and who has just a wealth of information. And he's a great resource if you want to go consult with him or commission him. I'm struggling to come up with words here. Commission him to set up a server for you or something like that, or just chat in his stream. He's got a nice little techie stream going, and you may encounter me there. So lots of good information here. Feel free to go back and take notes or do whatever you need to. In the next segment of the course, we will be talking about NDI, which is a different protocol, a kind of newer one that does some slightly different things, so that will be interesting. And otherwise, smash the like button if you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe for more awesome tech tips. Check the playlist for the rest of the OBS course in the description down below, and check out Psynaps' information down there as well. I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching this episode of my OBS Studio tutorial course. More videos like this and a full master class are linked in the playlist in the video description. Click to learn more. Also, consider joining us on Patreon to help keep tech education free. Go to patreon.com/eposvox to sign up.